Good morning. Welcome to the Coastside Land Trust Year in Review. I'm Barbara Lohman, Chairman of the Board, and I am so pleased that you've decided to join us this morning. The Coastside Land Trust was established in 1997 when a group of local people decided that they wanted to preserve the railroad right-of-way from development. So they met at a local preschool to organize. Imagine them sitting in chairs meant for 4-year-olds as they created an organization, the Half Moon Bay Open Space Trust. It was dedicated to preserving open space for future generations to enjoy. In 2007, the name was changed to the Coastside Land Trust to better reflect the expanded mission of protecting open space from Half Moon Bay to Montara. Moving on to 2014, that vision had expanded to include the opening of the bird trail in Wavecrest, a much loved addition to the coastside. Today, through the generosity of our donors, the Coastside Land Trust has increased the amount of protected land for all ages to enjoy. We remain dedicated to protecting our bluff tops, stream corridors, open space, and agricultural lands. Joe Chamberlain, our executive director, has been an inspiration to all of us and will detail the scope of our properties shortly. When CLT acquires a property, there are some hidden administrative costs. Title must be transferred. There may be back taxes due, and property taxes must be paid every year. This year we weighed our property taxes. There were 4.5 pounds of them. Fortunately, we have a dedicated office staff. Administrative Assistant Yvonne Palladini takes care of those property taxes and many other tasks. Administrative Assistant April Ramos makes sure that our new homeowner letters go out and that our confidential database is updated. Haley Peterson is our Junior Land Stewards Program Manager, and she has also taken on the job of replanting the office garden with endemic plants. Please stop by and see how they are thriving under her stewardship. Haley will give you details of the JLS program later in the program. I saved the pumpkin spider web for Kate Dickey's slide because it is exactly the kind of thing that she would feature in our blog. Kate is our social media manager and responsible for all the wonderful webinars. She will tell you all about them later in the program. This little weasel is ever vigilant for changes in the environment, just like the Stewardship Committee. This dedicated group of individuals monitors every piece of Coastside Land Trust land every year, creating a report that details any changes in the condition of the property, including changes in the plants and animals present. Erosion, invasive species, trash, all are noted. Since we cannot have group events yet, CLT has created Team Stewardship, a small group of volunteers headed by John Zimmer. Tasks like invasive sapling removal to preserve our coastal prairie ecosystem or graffiti busting that can be done in very small groups are perfect for the teams. And finally, although they are not members of the Stewardship Committee, the goats are a popular sight as they clear the railroad right-of-way every year. I hope that you enjoy our Year in Review presentation. Our first speaker is Joe Chamberlain.
Hello, I'm Joe Chamberlain, the Executive Director of the Coastside Land Trust. I'm going to be sharing two areas that we've been working in the last year, and actually for many years. The first one is our ongoing and very successful acquisitions program to permanently protect open space west of Highway 1 in San Mateo County. I'll be talking with you about our new trail plan for 3.2 mile extension that goes through this area that you see on this map before you. This map is of the purple properties are all of the ones we have successfully put into permanent, in perpetuity open space. This is the southern group of our properties. We do have several further to the north, but this is the one where we've focused most of our work and had the greatest success. As you can see, the green area is still held by post, and this brown area in the middle is the Smithfield area that the city of Half Moon Bay owns. We currently hold 422 properties, and that sounds like a lot, and it is, but keeping it in context, it's a little over 90 acres within the city of Half Moon Bay. So it's a significant amount that's been preserved for permanent open space for your enjoyment and for the health and safety and life expectancy of all the fabulous animals and plants we share this space with. Now, this is the recent acquisition from working with Post from a seller. This is what's called the Arroyo. We're looking west out. You can see the ocean out here. This is a significant acquisition and preserves this entire Arroyo on the south side as well as most of the north side. We're quite pleased about this, and this protects an enormous number of riparian dwelling animals and plants in perpetuity. We're just delighted with this acquisition and thrilled to add it to our list of properties preserved in the Wavecrest area. There's more on acquisitions, and certainly here's the map for you to enjoy. This is also on our website if you'd like to go there and see it and enjoy it. So anyway, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now moving along to the trail planning. This is a map of the planned trail extension through Wavecrest. We call it Phase 2 of the California Coastal Trail. We've completed a third mile over here to the north on this map where it says Phase 1. That's the bird trail that has been completed. A little more orientation. If you look at the top here, you'll see Smithfield and Wavecrest Road. And this is the easement for CCWD that goes down to Ocean Colony. Then over here is Redondo Beach Road. And off of Redondo Beach Road is where we'll be putting parking and a restroom and 2 additional parking areas for approximately 91 parking spots. The parking area at the end of Redondo Beach Road will be fenced off and restored to prevent any additional erosion occurring there. Visitors will be able to walk along here and pick up this trail, or of course, just go out here to the north, either here or here, and join in these trails. As I said from the previous slide, this is the huge Arroyo property and continuing up into here that we've just acquired, and we're delighted to have in permanent protection. This will be an ADA trail except for the stairs. So that means anyone who cannot do stairs will need to traverse north and south by going up here to the top where we come along and cross over the bridge that's part of this easement for the water district, and then come back down all the way and pick up the trail again. Additionally, you can see these little tiny little checkers here. There's one here, here's one, here's one. These are causeways similar to the one that you cross on Phase 1, which I'm sure you've done several times. So these will be lovely little wetland areas that will be crossed. And some of the things I'd like you to note here before I show you these next slides, and that is the significant erosion that has occurred here. And you can see how this erosion has come up here, and it's just tracking this casual trail and destroying this property, putting it into the ocean. So we're going to move away from that. And again, all of these erosion areas that you see will be rehabilitated. This is not only a significant trail construction, but a significant, huge impact on restoring the habitat here and stopping as much erosion as possible. Just for fun, a few details on the stairs down. Here's the beach. Here's the arroyo coming down here, and that's called Ravine 9. These are the stairs that are going to come from the south, on the south side, and down and then onto the beach. And then of course on the north side, as you can see, it's a little longer, but not quite as steep. Additionally, as I mentioned before, these hatched areas will all be revegetated and rehabilitated and returned to beautiful coastal vegetation for us to enjoy forever. And so this is going to be great fun, and very much looking forward to seeing the completion of that, as I'm sure you are. A little more talk about the erosion. Looking to the south, Ritz-Carlton is down here. These vehicles are parked on the property that is eroding dramatically, and in fact will erode out Redondo Beach Road if it is not stopped, which is part of the reason we need to remove these vehicles. And they'll be up here along Redondo Beach Road will be the parking areas and the restroom. And then this larger area here will all be rehabilitated, and rehabilitated with California native plants to the Wavecrest area, which, as you know, is managed in coastal prairie and coastal shrub. And it'll just be gorgeous. This is the area I was pointing about how this erosion is following these trails. What happens is the rain comes down and it washes along these impressions that are made by us with foot traffic and bicycles, and then the water just pours down here, and these soils are so erosive that this just follows it, and a huge amount of land has already been lost to this. So when we get the new trail in, we'll be able to stop that level of erosion. And this is the trail we've completed. This is the way it will look in the future. And you can see what a difference it'll be. We have this, and we're going to have this. And it just makes a huge difference. Horses can traverse on this, and it will just be a lovely experience for everyone. And I want to speak just a little bit about the restroom. There have been several questions about it and its impact on the area. I took this photograph standing on the side of Redondo Beach Road. This little tiny orange top that you see here, that is the restroom. And it's quite low profile, 2-stall with running water and flushing toilets. And just a slide here to put it into context. In the terrain, as you see, it's not a very large building, very low profile, and there'll be a trash container in here and parking. So it should be just a lovely, lovely place, and it will preserve the bluff edge from eroding anymore and return that to native habitat. So quite excited, hoping to get the final grant monies for this starting next year, and then proceed with construction in the fall. Now this, let me see here, go back here. So part of the construction that's fun that I wanted to share with you is this is what they call an exclusion fence. And this is put up to keep creatures from getting out where there is equipment and activity going on that could harm them. And this, I believe, is a gopher snake skin. Right along here, you see it. Looks like it came over to the exclusion fencing and took advantage of it to rub off its skin. This is the head here. And as you know, the way snakes peel off their skin is similar to you if you take your sock and you peel it off so that the inside is part is now outside. So what you see here is the part of the snake that was adjacent to the snake itself, and inside is the part that used to be outside. And this is just part of the charm of getting to do these types of construction projects, is we get to have these really special interactions with the wildlife. To sum up, I'll show you some of the creatures that I love and adore that reside in Wavecrest, that make my work a complete joy. Not just the other things I've mentioned here, but when I feel a little like maybe I'm not doing what I should be doing, I look at these pictures and say, oh, this is it. This is why we're all doing this work. So here's a little tree frog. I have a lot of tree frogs there. There are tadpoles right now at the causeway on the bird trail in Wavecrest. So we'll have more frogs. And then, of course, the gorgeous bumblebees that are all over the wildflowers there. In our Junior Land Stewards program, you'll hear a report about that later in this presentation. And this was taken there on the plants that they have, providing food and pollination for these gorgeous bees. And then least but not last is this tiny little fledgling sawwheat owl. This is a owl that hatched in that year and is living in Wavecrest. And we had the good fortune to hear from a neighbor that was out walking and saw this beautiful animal. And this photograph was taken by Alvaro Jaramillo, one of our local bird experts, world famous bird experts. So this concludes my presentation. I hope you'll get out and enjoy Wavecrest. It's a spectacular, remarkable place, and every time you go there you'll have the good fortune to see something new, either on land or at sea. I wish you the best of the new year, and I thank you for joining us today.
Hi everyone, my name is Haley Peterson and I am the program manager for the Junior Land Stewards program. Here you see the 50 acres out at Wavecrest and the fourth graders from Alvin Hatch Elementary working hard and weeding and doing some solarization tarping, which I'll explain a little bit more in detail later on. So what is the Junior Land Stewards program and why are we doing this? The Coastside Land Trust provides this amazing outdoor education and stewardship program for students in the Cabrillo Unified School District, with the goal of connecting Coastside students with their local and open spaces and guiding these students in developing the skills and desire to become lifelong stewards of open spaces. So in these photos here, you see our Hatch fourth graders doing a sound mapping activity. This is on the last field trip we just went on last week. They're sitting here listening to the sounds of the open space and making a map in their nature journals, included with drawings and sound words, and including direction and distance of where those sounds are coming from. So it's a beautiful activity that they did so well, and it was really nice to see. So who is involved in the Junior Land Stewards program? So many people. Me, of course, but also importantly, Miss Barbara Lohman, who you heard from at the beginning of our webinar today. She is my advisor for the program and my partner, and I couldn't do it without her. So thank you to Barbara. We also couldn't make this program what it is without our Coastside Land Trust staff and our volunteers, which we have many of. A very important part of the Junior Land Stewards is our high school docents who lead our fourth graders in small group activities on our field trips. And the high school teachers, Joseph Santoni and Hannah Carney, and their students from the environmental AP and agricultural programs help us out with this. And it truly enriches the experience for everyone. We're so grateful to have the support of the fourth grade teachers at Alvin Hatch Elementary and El Granada Elementary schools, and of course the enthusiasm of their students. They love this program and get so much out of it. And of course, we couldn't go on our field trips without our parent chaperones. So thank you to those parents who have volunteered and to those who are going to be volunteering in the future. So what do we do with this program? What are these students doing? The fourth graders have weekly or bi-weekly classes, lessons in their classroom. That's curriculum provided by the Junior Land Stewards program. And it's largely based on nature journaling. So nature journaling is an amazing skill that will follow you throughout your life. And it involves close observations and getting details down on paper with no pressure for being a fabulous artist or spelling your words correctly. It's just all about having fun and connecting to nature. They also do some close ecosystem inspections and observations in the open spaces. They're currently working on a big habitat restoration project and growing and planting California endemic plants. And they have a few science experiments and activities sprinkled in the curriculum as well. And throughout the year we take each class on 4 field trips. So where do we go? The program has been in place at Alvin Hatch Elementary for a number of years. And thanks to the generosity of the Granada Community Services District and community donations, we're able to expand to El Granada Elementary this year. So here we have El Granada Elementary, and right here, really close to the school, is where we're doing a habitat restoration project. And a few of our field trips involve hikes up to Quarry Park. Just this past week, we hiked up to the quarry floor where we had some sound mapping and ecosystem inspections. We saw a lot of cool things. And also we had a brief history on Quarry Park, which was super interesting, provided by our amazing volunteer, Miss Barbara Dye. We'll also be taking a hike up to the Quarry Park Pond on one of our future field trips. And here we have Hatch Elementary. And this is so amazing because these students go to school so close to Wavecrest that they can walk there. So it's about a mile walk, which they do with their chaperones and teachers. And we meet them at the Seymour Bridge at Wavecrest, and they have their garden plots out here, and we do a ton of nature journaling activities and some observations out at the Wavecrest open space, which is always magical and so beautiful to be out there. So what have we done so far this year? We began in the early school year with our high school orientation, where we hosted the high school teachers and students from the environmental AP and agricultural departments at Wavecrest to give them an introduction to the open space. And we had volunteers who are experts in local wildlife, geology, California endemic and invasive plants, and habitat restoration come speak to the students so they could get a working knowledge of the open space and feel comfortable leading 4th graders in the field. So here we have one of our high school docents, a parent chaperone, and a small group of 4th graders. I think they're doing their naturalist scavenger hunt there. We also have the agricultural students from the high school growing some California plants for us for habitat restoration projects. And these are just a few examples of other things that the students are doing in the field, plant and wildlife ID, and stuff like that. So they've been very busy and working hard. So here we have at our high school orientation, the high school students learning about the endemic and invasive species and how we're doing habitat restoration. Here they're learning about some geology, local coastal geology, and lots of wildlife and birds from Mulia de Feliz, which was awesome. On our first field trip with the 4th graders from Hatch, we went out to Wavecrest and did some solarization tarping. So the students worked really hard weeding and getting rid of invasive species by pulling weeds And then what they do is roll out this huge plastic tarp, which blocks the sunlight and keeps the weeds, the seeds from growing. And we leave that out for a few months before we're ready to plant our plants in the field, so that when the students come back and we take up the tarp, there's kind of a blank slate, and the plants that they do plant don't have as much competition from those invasive species and can do well, hopefully do well. At El Granada Elementary this year, we're trying a new method of weed control, and that's called sheet mulching. And so what they did is they laid out cardboard, overlapped it, and covered it with mulch. And that essentially does the same thing as the solarization tarping by keeping the weeds under control. But it also is really great because you don't have to remove it. You can keep it there, just cut a hole when you're ready to plant. And then it adds organic material, keeps some water and moisture retention, and keeps the weeds down even after you're done planting. So it'll be fun to see how the difference between both methods and how it works. Always very fun and exciting in the field is when the students find critters. So far this year, we've found a ton of insects, obviously, but also some really cool critters. We have a tree frog here, a student has a salamander, a praying mantis, and of course, tons of birds of prey, red-tailed hawks. We've seen some great egrets and great blue herons, of course, and the children always get very excited when they see animals. So here we are at El Granada, and this was just a few weeks before Thanksgiving. The students planted some California endemic plants, and here they are watering them, and here's Barbara guiding them. And they did a science experiment also where they fertilized one and left one unfertilized. They're going to see if that makes any difference in the growth of their plants, and they're going to document it in their nature journals and take measurements over the next few months. So that's pretty cool. And here they are already growing. You can see some of the seedlings popping up. It's pretty exciting. And here's just a list of some of the seeds that we did plant: the California buckwheat, coast buckwheat, yellow bush lupin, sky lupin, blue-eyed grass, and so on. There's so many. And most of these seeds were actually donated by Avis Boutel, who is a volunteer and advocate for our program. Some were collected on our 50 acres out at Wavecrest, and a few were purchased from Larner Seeds and Theodore Payne. So what's next? What's to come? In the new year, we're going to be continuing to measure the growth of our plants in the classroom. And at the end of January, we're going to be planting those in our prep to garden plots in our open spaces. And we'll do a flower dissection. In February, they're going to be focusing on watersheds and water cycle and doing some more nature journaling. And then in March, we'll have our final field trip. They'll do a garden investigation to see how their plants are doing, and we'll go on some hikes and do some more nature journaling and exploration. And we'll wrap up our program in April. Here you can see, this is a photo from a few years ago in one of our previous gardens they're planting. You can go out there and see all these blue flags of the plants that the fourth graders have planted in the past, and the gardens that are out there, and they're doing really well. They're thriving, and they're coming back after the little bit of rain that we had already this fall. So that's really cool to see. So thank you so much. I appreciate you listening, and I hope you are as excited as I am about this program, and I hope it continues to be such a success. One more thing is here's Barbara Dye at Quarry Park doing a little history of Quarry Park, which I learned so much about. It was really cool. And then here we have one of our fourth graders and the high school docents, and they're planting some California oat grass. And here they're doing a naturalist scavenger hunt. So they've been busy, and I think everyone involved has been having a ton of fun. So thank you so much.
Hi, my name's Kate Dickey, and I am excited to share with you a little bit about the Coastside Land Trust social media connection. And this morning, I'm going to start off with just sharing a little bit about what we've been doing in terms of the webinars, and then move into how to learn more about the Coastside Land Trust and how to keep up with what we've been up to, and then share just some general thanks. And then our hope is that at the end, we'll give a little bit of time for question and answer. And as I'm looking at the attendees that are here today, we see that a number of you most of you are deeply embedded in this community. So perhaps it can also be a conversation about our roles together and some ideas that you might have for webinars as we're moving forward. So we began in January of this year with a presentation by Kim Young and talked about the Western monarchs and the biology and behaviors and a bit about sort of the habitat, not just sort of the habitat loss and some of the migration and the challenges of that, and spent some time talking about suggestions for providing habitat and forage for the California overwintering sites. We then moved into a presentation by Patrick Robinson. He did a virtual elephant seal tour at Año Nuevo. It was really exciting because this was during really intense COVID lockdown, which most of us were not. Most of us were not leaving our homes, and certainly the Año Nuevo preserve was not open at the time. So he opened it up for us to give us a walkthrough tour of the colony, and he introduced the site and how they're using electronic tags and a summary of current research projects. And then we had a presentation by Amy Murillo. She's a interpretive park ranger at Lava Beds National Monument. And she did a presentation on tracks and scat and birds, and both there and here on the coast. And she talked a little bit about how those are connected and why. And it's fascinating. I think many of you who are listening to this have probably seen some of these presentations. And if you haven't seen all of them, as we go through, hopefully these will kind of get you excited to think about the ones that you missed, because they're all going to be on our past webinars. We'll talk about that in a minute, our past webinar section of our website. Then we moved into a presentation by Dr. Gary Griggs out of the University of California at Santa Cruz. And he did a presentation on the geological evolution of Santa Cruz and San Mateo. And he talked about the tectonic history and geologic evolution. It's sort of been recorded in the rocks and fossils of the region, and some of the hazards presented by our geological study. Fascinating. And then we moved into a wonderful presentation by Jasmine Standis. She is a Half Moon Bay High School student working with the Youth Climate Ambassadors Leadership Program. And she shared with us a project that she's been doing, or she was working on through the Youth Climate Ambassadors Program, where she went into Wavecrest close to the Junior Land Stewards plot. And she shared some of the work that she was doing in planting native plants and some of the actually the sheet mulching, which the Junior Land Stewards are using now. She was piloting that per the suggestion of Susan Boyer of California State Park. So she was using that, sort of piloting that for Coastside Land Trust as well. And then Jan Null did a wonderful presentation on the weather patterns of the San Mateo coast. He is just so incredibly interactive and such a wealth of knowledge. If you haven't seen that one, this is a really good one to see. Talking about just San Mateo coast weather phenomena, some of the seasonal patterns, how our new normal looks a little bit different than things that, how things are shifting. And also shared with us some of, more exciting weather related phenomena, including, rainbows and green flashes and exceptional places to find the green flashes. And his photographs are fantastic as well. He's a photographer, a very well-known photographer in our area. So most of you probably know. So his photographs are incredible. And then, of course, we begged Alvaro Jaramillo to come back, and he came back to share about the raptors of Wavecrest open space. And he had done a multi-part series, as I mentioned, the year before. He was the one who started this whole webinar series. And just a quick conversation I was actually trying to write a nature nugget, a little piece on, as we were just trying to keep people kind of connected to the environment. And he brought up the idea of really getting out there and talking to people. And so he came back this year and shared with us about a more specific presentation on local raptor populations that are living in Wavecrest, and talked about their biology and ecology, and always has so many interesting things, and is really, really accessible. I think that's a wonderful video if you have seen it or haven't seen it to share, because my family is not, I didn't come from a family with a great ornithological background, but my family has just grown in such passion, my parents included, passion for birding, just from listening to the way he explains and connects people to birding. And then we had Dr. Dave Revy as the principal at Integral Consulting, and he's a coastal geomorphologist. And he did a presentation on sea level rise and the San Mateo coast. And he talked about, the research that's been done, the work being done with San Mateo Resource Conservation District and his consulting firm, and also some of the risks, adaptation strategies, and trade-offs. And then we had a Nat Goodby came from Bat Conservation International, and he talks about the conservation and ecological role of California native bats, and it was fantastic. The ecology, the orientation of the bats, the San Mateo coastal region, it's the niche that they play. And then we just last month we had Zara McDonald from Philadelphia Conservation Fund, and she talked about wildcats at the coast, and she talked about, did a fascinating presentation on the biology and physiology and their ecological niche of particularly of pumas. And then the impacts of habitat fragmentation and some really interesting current research and strategies that they're using and conservation efforts. And then here we are, we're at the end of our year, and we're thankful to those of you who are here today to celebrate. Moving forward, as we look towards 2022, we have some exciting webinars on, moving forward. In January, we'll be having some e-blasts and some information just about to come out on our website about a native pollinator presentation that will that specifically zooming in on bees, California native bees, in January. And then in the following months, we have a member of Xerces Society who's going to be speaking about soil health, and then have a presentation on prairie grasslands, the grassland prairie, and our indigenous relationships with the land, and the archaeology of the coast. So we have a lot to look forward to. What I'd like to just quickly touch on too, and I think many of you know this, but is as we move forward, just sort of how to keep up with the Coastside Land Trust. We try really hard not to give too much information by way of email, just because we're all getting barraged by emails all the time. So we send, before the webinars, we try to send a reminder and a quick write-up on that, and volunteer opportunities and some of the opportunities that we have. But one of the best ways to keep up with what we're doing is on our blog, and we will often put that same information on social media. So if you're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, those are great places to get some of that information, just kind of queuing up for you. But our blog is just a great place to touch base and see, and that's everything from, our annual report, there's connections to that, or when the goats are coming through, or the junior land stewards, or, it's a specific day that we're celebrating. And again, there's a lot of information on the website, a lot more, if you take a few minutes to kind of look at, if you go to the about section of the website, you can find out a lot about, who are the players involved, who's on our board of directors, what we're doing, some successes and challenges that we face, what are some of the questions that are often asked about the land trust. People are talking about things or asking you questions that you can't fully answer. It's a wonderful place to kind of gear them towards financial information. All of that is readily available. Also, there's this section there that follows with the junior land stewards and kind of shares about the junior land stewards program. That you can follow along with what they're doing on the blog. But there's also available there the videos from last year's virtual program. we had incredible speakers and that presented for the students of all of Cabrillo Unified, 4th and 5th grade. And those are really wonderful resources. I also am a teacher at Seacrest School and used a number of those resources, just bits to share bits of information, because we here, and I think most of you know this, we are blessed with having such a community of people that are really committed to sharing information with each other and sharing resources with each other. And that's definitely shown in the Junior Land Stewards and also in our webinar series. I think of these people, some of you who are here right now, that have given their time to just help people in the community feel connected to the environment and to learn more, and to help these students develop those skills and desires to become stewards, as Haley was talking about. Yeah, and then of course, as you know, there are multiple ways to donate. We often gear people just sort of to that donation page, but of course, volunteer opportunities are lesser now, but will be improving, or we'll be building those back up slowly as things open up and are safer to be out and about. But there's also other ways that people, if you're kind of keeping our ears to the ground on ways to give, whether that's through vehicle donation or planned giving, and there are other ways as well. So there's if people are interested in doing that, send them to that page, because there's a lot of information on different ways to donate for people that aren't always just specifically cash donation. And I want to finish in gratitude to all of you who are here today. This already shows that you love this organization. You're here to support this organization, and we are so grateful to so many of you for your part in the work that's being done in land preservation, in working with the students of Cabrillo Unified School District, and in educating our population and just bringing people closer to the open spaces and to nature in general. And we thank you, and would like to take this opportunity now to open up to some questions if people have questions or wanted to share anything now during our Q&A time. So let's start my video again. All right, I'm going to stop share. All right. So let's see. And I apologize for not having my face during that time. I somehow just could not quite get that. Does anyone have any Q&A? We don't have any Q&A in the section right now, but does anyone want to share some Q&A? Anybody have any questions that they'd like to have answered now that you've got 4 Coastside Land Trust folks hanging out right here? All right.
Kate, we must have done a fabulous job.
Very good job. Oh, I know. I feel like because we know who's here, and some of you we know and love very much, we should just start picking on you. If no one asks questions, we're going to start asking you to ask questions. Well, we will have a follow-up email too. So, anybody with any suggestions, and it doesn't have to be now, but suggestions on webinar topics that you'd like to have covered, or things that this is a great time. It doesn't, again, you don't have to type it in, but just sharing that forward of ideas that you have or ways that you'd like to see us interacting with folks in the social media world, or just out in the work that we're doing. I want to see who's on. All right. Well, thank you very much. And thank you. We see a number of the people on here, Jan and April, who's our eyes to the ground. We have to give a big hand to April, because she's humble and she wouldn't come on here, of course. But she's here making sure that this thing ran correctly. Yvonne as well. And thank you. We see Barbara Dye here, just a number of you that are here. And
I think we have a question, Kate, a couple of them.
Oh, good. They just came through. Oh, yay. How firm, so this is a question Jan Leonard asked, how firm is the date of the 2022 completion of the trail?
So that would be a question for me, Jan. Wonderful to have you with us today. The trail will probably take more than 1 year to complete. It's 3.5 miles with the stairs and the parking areas and infrastructure. I think it will probably take 2, maybe 3 years to complete. Fortunately, in some areas, we'll be able to work outside the bio window. The bio window is from September 1 to October 15 or 30, October 30th, if there's no rain. And I'm very hopeful that we can get into the sensitive areas during that time frame, get out, and then still be able to proceed with some of the construction that is not in those biologically sensitive areas. So it's going to be a long time, but it'll be worth it in the end.
And Thomas Lamberts is saying, thanks for the fabulous work. And he's asked us if we, and asked us to please continue doing so, and asked if for maybe another talk on wildflowers.
Yeah.
So that's a great.
Can't talk too much about wildflowers, can we? They're just spectacular.
You get some of the junior land stewards with Haley too to do a presentation on and Barbara Lohman to do a presentation on some of the.
There you go.
They're planting right now.
That would be fun, Haley, to take some pictures of the junior land stewards flowers and talk about which ones they are and where they came from. As you were sharing with us during your presentation, we purchase seeds commercially, we collect seeds, and then seeds are donated from other organizations in our area that are doing like work. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. There are also plants are donated also by the state parks. Susan Boyer has donated plants in the park in the past, and I hope she continues to do so for us. You know, the students do their best to grow them in the classroom, but sometimes they're not successful. So it's fun for them each to have at least one thing to plant when we go out there and do our project in the field. So
sure, but I think those learning about the life history of an individual plant in the program, maybe I'm, unusual in thinking so, but I think it'd be fascinating to know where, these plants were grown by the students. This plant was grown by the high school students. This plant was grown from seeds collected here. I think to me, that's just fascinating.
Sure, yeah, that sounds
the
awesome.
web.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Well,
and I think Kate and Haley, we need to give a shout out to our president, Barbara Lohman. I'm not sure she did a really good introduction of her role as the firm hand on the rudder, as they say, to keep our organization going forward. And thank you so much, Barbara, and for your incredible work with the Junior Land Stewards program. It's just phenomenal.
Well, the staff is amazing, absolutely amazing. It makes it very easy. I do think we have maybe another question in chat I saw, Kate.
Yeah.
Do you want to read it? Let's say. Oh, here we go. Chat. I'm working on my PhD in environmental education. Would love to ask a few questions. We'll write an email. Thank you for your great one.
Awesome.
Perfect.
And Barbara Dye says, "Yay, Barbara!"
Hi, Barbara Dye.
Well, no one mentioned the lovely slime mold we found yesterday.
Oh, I know. It was just yesterday. It was so recently, but that was.
I don't think we got any photos.
We found 2 different kinds of slime mold. I think one of the students found one, and then Barbara, did you find the other one? I can't remember.
No, they were both found by students.
Oh, were they?
They have sharp eyes.
It was so neat. So neat. That was at Quarry Park, at the Quarry Park floor where the labyrinth is. It's funny. It seems like this big open space with just grass, but when you look closely, you can find so many cool things. And that's what they discovered yesterday.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Also, and I hear that I think Barbara Dye says we have good photos. So maybe
great.
that'll come
Yes.
up.
Ooh, of the slime mold. Awesome.
Maybe that can be the intro of the Junior Land Stewards presentation next year. Just like
Okay.
start with the slime mold and get that.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah, the colors are so cool. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. Let's see.
Okay.
Any questions? I think we're good. Well, thank you all for being here today. And thank you, Haley and Joe and Barbara and April out there. And we will be sending a follow-up email to pass any information for people that are interested. Get on our website. We will be posting our next webinar. We're going to be posting in the next couple of days, which is very exciting. So be looking forward to January 15th. We'll be having a coastal pollinators presenter. And that should be exciting.
Thank you, Kate. Thanks for leading this. It was super
Yes.
fun.
Thanks, Kate.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks to everyone. Bye.
Bye.